everybody, my name is Deja and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be going over my anticipated releases for the first quarter of the year. I actually was doing these last year and I did not make it through all the quarters, but I'm hoping this year that I will. I think my problem last year was that I was trying to find a lot of anticipated releases for other people to try and like give y'all as many different types of books as possible so that you guys can make educated decisions about what you actually want to be picking up and reading and spending your money on. And I was trying to find all these different books, so it would be like 20 per month, 60 books per video, which was just absolutely ridiculous. So this year I'm going with my actual anticipated releases. These are books that I'm excited for, and if you want to hear about more anticipated releases, there are plenty of other people that make this video or just make anticipated releases for the entire year. So there are plenty of other videos for you to be watching so that you guys can gather accurate information and pick what books you actually want to be reading. So I'm going to be going over January, February, March, which is honestly like my least exciting quarter of the year. I feel like the second quarter is really going to pop off, and so is the third quarter. I mean, I'm excited for these releases, but I'm way more excited for the releases in the second quarter. So we're just going to start off with January, and for the most part I'm going to be reading off my computer because I'm anticipating these just from based off buzzwords, the way other people have talked about them, or because of the authors that are writing them. So I don't know a ton about each and every single one of them, so I'm going to be reading off my computer. So coming out on January 7th, the first one is Whispers of the Deep by Emma Hamm. I've heard of this author before. She wrote a book called Heart of the Fae, which I've heard of before, that has been pretty well liked on BookTube. So I decided that I really would have liked to try this one out because I believe this one is about mermaids or about the ocean, and I love the ocean. It says, one of the many engineers that keeps Beta, the city under the sea, running, Myra only wants to make her family proud and to prove herself worthy. She knows that mysterious city better than anyone, and it's her dream to help it flourish. But then on a solo job in an abandoned section of the city, she encounters a monster of legends, an Undie, a dangerous merman from an ancient civilization long forgotten. Argus has fought his entire life for his people. With deadly creatures under his control, he plans to eradicate Beta once and for all to protect his kind and their peaceful way of life. But when a human woman saves him, she unknowingly creates a bond between them, one he can't ignore. Even though her flaming red hair haunts his dreams, he needs her for information on the Undie's enemies, so he steals her, keeps her, feeds her, only to realize their bond is far deeper than captor and captive. He cannot let her go, but he cannot keep her under the sea. In a battle to determine if love can survive a war beneath the waves, it will be their decision that changes the tides. I really like how this one has a merman and a human instead of a mermaid, so I think that's going to be really amazing, and I'm super excited for this one because it just sounds really, really good, and I love things that take place in the ocean or around the ocean or anything like that. Also coming out on January 16th is This Wretched Valley by Jenny Kiefer. This one is a debut novel. It says, 4 ambitious climbers hike into the Kentucky wilderness. 7 months later, 3 mangled bodies are discovered. Were their deaths simple accidents or the result of something more sinister? This nail-biting, bone-chilling survival horror novel is inspired by the famous Dyatlov Pass incident and is perfect for fans of Amakatsu and Showtime's Yellow Jackets. I love Yellow Jackets so much. Like, I saw that and I was like, okay, like, I might have to pick this one up. Going to be so good because I love Yellow Jackets, and anything compared to that, I'm like, like I need to read it. We have a lot of debuts this year because another one coming out on January 16th is The Night of the Storm by Nishta Parikh, I think is how you say it. It says it's a fresh take on a classic locked room thriller about a multi-generational Indian American family marooned in a house with a murderer during Hurricane Harvey. Hurricane Harvey is about to hit Houston. Meanwhile, single mom Gia is already having a rough week. Her 12-year-old son has just been suspended from school for getting in a fight. Still reeling from the fallout of her divorce, their move to Houston, her family's disapproval, the struggle to make ends meet on her own. Now Gia is worried about her son's future too. Will her solo parenting be enough? Doesn't a boy need a father? And now their apartment complex is under a mandatory evacuation order. Gia's sister, Seema, has invited them to hunker down in her fancy house in Sugarland. And despite Gia's misgivings, Seema's husband has been a little too friendly with her lately. Gia concedes it's probably the best place to keep her son safe during the hurricane. With Gia's philandering ex scrutinizing her every move, all too eager to snatch back custody of her son, she can't afford to make a mistake. When the husband's brother and his wife show up on Seema's doorstep too, it's a recipe for disaster. Grandma, the family matriarch, has never been shy about playing favorites among her sons and their wives. As the storm escalates, tensions rise quickly and soon someone's dead. Was it a horrible accident or is there a murderer in the mist? I love when thrillers have a lot of culture in it. I just love when any books have a lot of culture in it, whether that's Black culture, Indian culture, any other Asian culture, Mexican culture, any other Hispanic culture. Like, I just love when there's culture embedded into these stories, and I feel like it makes them so much more rich and layered, so I'm really excited to check this one out. Next up, coming out on January 18th is Feybound by Sarat El Arifi, which I have heard of this author's previous work, but I have not read it myself. But this one is a adult fantasy romance that is sapphic, so I'm really excited to try this one out. It says, it is divided by blood, imprisoned by fate, bound by desire. Welcome to the intoxicating world of the Fae. Urena is a warrior in the Elven army and has known nothing but violence her whole life. Her sister Leto is trying to make a living as a diviner, seeking prophecies of a better future. When a fatal mistake leads to Uren's exile from the Elven lands, they are both forced into a terrifying wilderness beyond their borders. There they encounter the impossible, the Fae court. The Fae haven't been seen for a millennium, but now Uren and Leto are thrust into this seductive world, torn between their loyalty to each other, the Elven home, and their hearts. Like, I really think that this is going to be my fantasy romance era. Like, I think that 2024 is going to be like my fantasy romance era, and I'm really excited for this one. It sounds so good, and it is the new first book in a trilogy, so I'm really excited to like hopefully hop on this one in the very beginning. Coming out January 23rd, I have The Clinic by Kate Quinn, and this one has like the bolded part, and I just like to read the bolded part sometimes because I feel like the rest of the synopsis be too much. So I'm not going to read the whole synopsis, but I'm going to read the bolded part. It says, it is a thriller set in a remote rehab clinic on the Pacific Northwest coast in which the death of a woman inside prompts her sister to enter the clinic as a patient in order to find the truth. This one sounds so good, and it says that it's also for fans of Stacey Willingham and Taryn Fisher. I haven't read either of those authors, but I really want to read both of them, so I'm really excited for this one. It sounds super good. Like, okay, one Pacific Northwest coast is going to be giving like wintry vibes hopefully, and then she's entering the clinic as a patient, so that sounds like so good. Like, as a patient is crazy, so she's going to be like going under treatment and stuff like that, so I'm really excited to see if the mental health representation is good or not. Coming out January 30th, we have Midnight on Beacon Street by Emily Ruth Verona, which is another debut book. And this one says that it's a love letter to vintage horror movies that takes place October 1993, in which a teenager must overcome her own anxiety to protect the two children she's babysitting when strangers come knocking at the door. And it says, one night, one house, one dead body. So it's giving like Halloween meets The Strangers, which are two of my favorite movies. Like, I'm just so excited. It sounds so good. Next up, also coming out January 30th, is The Evocations by Crystal Sutherland. I read House of Hollow by this author, and I absolutely adored that book. It was so good. Even though it was a YA horror, I absolutely adored it, and I thought it was so good. This one says that it is a darkly seductive witchy thriller where both men and demons lurk in the shadows. Girls refuse to go too quietly into the night. Zara Jones believes in magic because the alternative is too painful to bear, that her sister was murdered by a serial killer and that there is precisely nothing she can do to change it. If there's anything Zara cannot stand, it's feeling powerless. So she decides she will do whatever it takes, even if it means partaking in the occult, to bring her sister back from the dead. Jude Wolfe might be the daughter of a billionaire, but she is undeniably cursed. After a deal with a demon went horribly wrong, her soul is now slowly turning necrotic. Flowers and insects die in her wake, and monstrous things come to taunt her at night. If Jude can't find the right someone to fix her mistake, she'll fear she'll die very soon. Enter Emmer Bryn, the solution to both Zara's and Jude's predicaments. The daughter of a witch, Emmer sells spells to women in desperate situations, willing to sacrifice a part of their souls in exchange for a bit of power, a bit of magic to change their lives. But Emmer has a dark past of her own, and as her former clients are murdered one by one, she knows it will follow her all the way to London. As Zara and Jude enter Emmer's orbit, they'll have to team up to stop the killer before they each end up on his list. This one sounds like it's going to be so good. It has a lot of the elements in it that I really enjoyed in House of Hollow, like the sisterly relationships and also like relating to nature, flowers and insects and stuff like that. But this one has like a serial killer element, and it has like Aqua Tofana type vibes. If you know anything about Aqua Tofana from Bailey Sarian, she's the one that kind of made Aqua Tofana blow up. And so if you know about Aqua Tofana, she used to sell poisons and stuff like that to women back in the day so that they could get out of bad relations with their like partners. So yeah, it sounds so good. And then the last book also comes out January 30th, and that is House of Flame and Shadow by Sarah J Maas. I keep talking about that me and Sarah, we have a little bit of beef because she's done a lot of problematic things that I have not enjoyed, but the end of the second book in the series had me gagged, so I'm going to need to pick this one up because it just sounds so good, and I just know that it's gonna eat. I don't really want to talk about it too much, but the first book is amazing. You should definitely pick it up if you haven't, even though just know that Sarah is kind of problematic if you do pick it up. Now we're going to be moving on to February, and February 6th, a book called Out of Body by Nia Davenport is coming out. This one is YA, but it is black, so I had to add it onto the list, and this one is actually debut. It says a high-stakes propulsive YA thriller with a body swap twist thoughtfully explores themes of friendship and identity, perfect for fans of Tiffany D. Jackson. They got me there because Tiffany is my girl, okay? I love Tiffany. So 17-year-old Megan Allen has been jumping from friend group to friend group in their high school, trying on identities like outfits. Nothing ever seems to fit until she meets Elsie, the adventurous, charismatic girl who appears at her favorite coffee shop one day like magic. Finally, Megan feels like she's becoming the person she's meant to be, someone like Elsie. On the night of their friendiversary, what was supposed to be a bonding experience ends in a waking nightmare. Suddenly, Megan is no longer herself. Too late, she realizes that Elsie has secret, dangerous ones. Betrayed by her best friend, thrust into another girl's life, and targeted by Elsie's enemies, she must claim what makes Megan Megan to get her life back or die trying. So I think this one is going to talk a lot about how people feel like they have to be other people or like things or try to be someone that they're not to fit in, but the best thing that they can do is just be themselves, which is great for teenagers to hear. Also coming out February 6th is Bride by Ali Hazelwood. I'm really excited for this one because I enjoyed The Love Hypothesis, and that's all that I've read from this author because her books seem like wash, rinse, repeat type books where they kind of are just similar vibes the whole time. But this one is her first like paranormal fantasy romance, so I'm really excited for this one. It says a dangerous alliance between a vampire bride and an alpha werewolf becomes in love deep enough to sink your teeth into. Misery Lark, the only daughter of the most powerful vampire councilman of the Southwest, is an outcast again. Her days of living in anonymity among the humans are over. She's been called upon to uphold a historic peacekeeping alliance between the vampires and their mortal enemies, the Wares, and she sees little choice but to surrender herself to the exchange again. Wares are ruthless and unpredictable, and their alpha, Lo Moreland, is no exception. He rules packs with absolute authority, but not without justice, and unlike the Vampire Council, not without feeling. Clear from the way he tracks Misery's every move that he doesn't trust her. If only he knew how right he was. Because Misery has her own reasons to agree to the marriage of convenience. Reasons that have nothing to do with politics or alliances. And everything to do with the only thing she's ever cared about. And she's willing to do whatever it takes to get back what's hers. Even if it means a life alone in Were territory. Alone with the wolf. I love a vampire story, and I feel like this is going to be like the year of the vampires, so I'm really excited for this one. Next up, I have another one coming out that same day, February 6th, which is Affinity Alchemist by Case and Callender. I really love Felix Ever After by this author, and I know he writes a ton of stuff in all different genres, and so I'm really excited to try this one out. It is a young adult fantasy. It says that it is a spellbinding novel about a quest that leads 3 young alchemists towards unexpected love and imaginable power. For Ashwoods, practicing alchemy is a crime. Only an elite few are legally permitted to study the science of magic. So when Ash is rejected by the Lancaster Mages College, he takes a job at the school's groundskeeper and forced to learn alchemy in secret. When he's discovered by the condescending and brilliant apprentice Ramsey, Ash is sure that he's about to be arrested. But instead of calling the Reds, Ramsey surprises Ash by making him, and Ramsey will keep Ash's secret if he helps her find the legendary Book of Swords, a secret text that gives its readers extraordinary power. As Ash and Ramsey work together and their feelings for each other grow, Ash discovers their mission is more dangerous than he imagined, pitting them against influential and powerful alchemists, Ash's estranged father included. Ash's journey takes him through the cities and wilds across New Angelia, forcing him to discover his own definition of true power and how far he and other alchemists will go to seize it. Featuring trans, queer, and polyamorous characters of color, Infinity Alchemist is a hugely anticipated young adult fantasy debut from the extraordinary author Felix Ever After, King of Dragonflies, and Queen of the Conquered, and more. 8 down. Trans, queer, and polyamorous characters of color. And I believe, as it said, this is his fantasy debut. He's worked in a lot of different genres before, but not like a strict fantasy like this, so I'm really excited to pick this one up because I think it's gonna eat. Next up, coming out on that same day again, February 6th, there's a ton of releases that day, is A Love Song for Ricky Wilde by Tia Williams. 7 Days in June literally ripped my heart out, stomped on it, and then put it back together. I love that book so much, so I have to pick up more of Tia Williams' work. This one says that it is an epic love story 100 years in the making. Leap years are a strange, enchanting time, and for some, even a single February can be life-changing. Ricky Wilde has many talents, but being a Wilde isn't one of them. As the impulsive artistic daughter of a powerful Atlanta dynasty, she's the opposite of her famous socialite sisters. Where they're long-stemmed roses, she's a dandelion, an adorable bloom that's actually a weed, born to float wherever the wind blows. In her bones, Ricky knows that somewhere a different, more exciting life waits for her. When regal, Agarian Miss Della invites her to rent the bottom floor of her Harlem brownstone, Ricky jumps at the chance for a fresh beginning. She leaves behind her family, wealth, and chaotic romantic decisions to realize her dreams of opening a flowering shop. But just beneath the surface of her new neighborhood, the music stores and dazzling drama of the Harlem Renaissance still simmers. One evening in the February of a Haiti, curious off-season scent of the night blooming jasmines fills the air, Ricky encounters a handsome, deeply mysterious stranger who knocks her world off balance in the most unexpected way. Set against the backdrop of modern Harlem and Renaissance glamour, A Love Song for Ricky Wilde is a swoon-worthy love story of two passionate artists drawn to the magic, romance, and opportunity of New York and whose lives are uniquely and irreversibly linked. This sounds so good, and I have been seeing a couple books this year that are going to come out with stuff about the Harlem Renaissance, which I'm really excited for, and I think this one is going to be so good. I know that Tia Williams is going to eat this one up. Coming out February 13th, I have Fangirling Down by Tessa Bailey, and I'm excited for this one, but also really nervous because me and Tessa have not been agreeing with her new recent releases, so we'll see if I actually enjoy this one. Wells Whitaker was once golf's hottest rising star, but lately all he has to show for his promising career is a killing hangover, a collection of broken clubs, and one remaining supporter. No matter how bad he plays, the beautiful sunny redhead is always on the sidelines. He curses, she cheers. He scowls, she smiles. But when Wells quits in a blaze of glory and his fangirl finally goes home, he knows he made the greatest mistake of his life. Josephine Doyle believed in the gorgeous, grumpy golfer even when he didn't believe in himself. Yet after he throws in the towel, she begins to wonder if her faith was misplaced. Then a determined Wells shows up at her door with a wild be his new caddy, help him turn his game around and split the prize money. And considering Josephine's professional and personal life is in shambles, she could really use the cash. As they travel together, spending days on the green and night in neighboring hotel rooms, sparks fly. Before long, they're inseparable. Wells starts winning again, and Josephine is surprised to find a sweet, thoughtful guy underneath his gruff, growly exterior. This hot man wants to brush her hair, feed her snacks, and take bubble baths with her. Is this real life? But Wells is technically her boss, and an athlete falling for his fangirl would be ridiculous, right? This one sounds like it's going to be okay. I've never read a golf romance before, so that should be really interesting. Coming out February 20th, I have Island Witch by Amanda Jatessa, I think is how you say that. And this is the author of You're Invited, which I own but have not read, which came out in 2022. But I heard Ashley Winstead talking about this book in the live show that I did with her, so I really decided to put this one on my TBR and pick it up. It says, inspired by Sri Lankan folklore, award-winning author turns her feverish gothic tingling talent to the late 19th century Sri Lanka, where the daughter of traditional demon priests, relentlessly bullied by peers and accused of witchcraft herself, tries to solve the mysterious attacks that have been terrorizing her coastal village. Being the daughter of the village demon priest, Amara is used to keeping mostly to herself, influenced by new religious practices brought in by the British coloners. The villagers who have once respected her father's craft have turned on the family, but yet they all still seem to call on him whenever supernatural disturbances arise. Now someone or something is vicariously seizing upon men in the jungle, but instead of enlisting Amara's father's help, the villagers have accused him of carrying out the attacks himself. As she tries to clear her father's name, Amara finds herself haunted by dreams that eerily predict the dark forces on her island, and she cannot shake the feeling that all is connected to the night she was recovering from a strange illness. To hear her mother's frantic voice, no one can find out what happened. Lush, otherworldly, and recalling horror classics like Carrie and the Exorcist, Island Witch is a deliciously creepy and darkly feminist tale about the horrors of moral panic, the violent spaces between girlhood and adulthood, and what happens when female rage is finally unleashed. This one sounds like it's going to be so good, and I haven't really read a book with Sri Lankan folklore embedded into it, so I'm really excited to see what that's all about. Coming out February 27th, I have Lord of the Wilds by Annalie Sabrana. This one seems like it's going to be amazing. It's a black romantasy. Like, come on. And it's this author's debut novel. I'm so excited for it. It says, a stunning romantasy debut about an enchanting library, two handsome fae, and one human who brings them all together. A library with a deadly enchantment, a fae lord who wants in, a human woman willing to risk it all for a taste of power. In a land ruled by ruthless fae, 21-year-old Lore's village trapped in a forest prison. Lore knows that escaping reality is futile. Her scars are a testament to her past failures. When her village is threatened, Lore makes a desperate deal with the fae lord. She will leave her home to catalog/organize an enchanted library that hasn't been touched in 1,000 years. No fae may enter the library, but there's a chance a human might be able to breach the cursed doors. She convinces him that she will risk her life for wealth, but she's really after one thing: the fae covet above all, magic of her own. As Lore navigates the hostile world outside, she's forced to rely on two fae males to survive, two very different, very dangerous, very attractive fae males. When undeniable chemistry ignites, she's not just in danger of losing her life, but the heart to the fairy creatures she can never trust. That one sounds like it's going to be so good, and it is a love triangle. I hope that it's a true love triangle and we're not leaning one way or the other. I hope that it's a true love triangle. Coming out that same day is another romantasy called A Fate Inked in Blood by Daniel L. Jensen, who is the author of Bridge Kingdom, which I've heard of before, which I have not read, but I want to. It says a shield maiden blessed by the gods battles to unite a nation under a powerful, hungry king while also fighting her growing desire for his fiery son. In this Norse-inspired fantasy romance from the best-selling author of the Bridge Kingdom series. Bound in an unwanted marriage, Feyre spends her days gunning fish but dreaming of becoming a warrior and of putting an axe in her boorish husband's back. Feyre dreams abruptly become reality when her husband betrays her to the region's Gnarl, landing her in a fight to the death against his son Bjorn. To survive, Feyre is forced to reveal her deepest secret. She possesses a drop of a goddess's blood, which makes her a shield maiden with magic capable of repelling any attack. It was foretold such a magic would unite the fractured nations of Skyland beneath the one who controls the shield maiden's fate. Believing he's destined to rule Skyland as king, the frantical Jarl binds Feyre with the blood oath and orders Bjorn to protect her from their enemies. Desperate to prove her strength, Feyre must train to fight and learn to control her magic, all while facing perilous tests set by the gods. The greatest test of all, however, may be resisting her forbidden attraction to Bjorn. If Feyre succumbs to her lust for the charming and fierce warrior, she risks not only her own destiny, but the fate of all the people she's sworn to protect. Again, another fantasy romance. I think I'm going to be my fantasy romance era this year, so I'm really excited, and I love when things, again, are inspired by different cultures. So this one is Norse inspired, so I'm excited to see, again, what that's all about. And lastly, coming out that same day, I have Brooklyn by Tracy Brown. And this one, it says that it is a literary fiction mystery thriller. So we'll see what that is. But it says Tracy Brown crafts a tale about a master manipulator and serial survivor who will scorch earth to get what she wants. The question isn't who murdered her, the question is who wouldn't. Brooklyn Melody James has finally gotten the punishment she deserves after leaving a web of lies, heartache, and betrayal behind her. As her life slowly slips away, Brooklyn remembers the events that shaped her into the cold, calculating creature she became. Brooklyn learned the art of hustling from her parents who used to use the church to get money. Idolizing her father and despising her mother, Brooklyn determined to be the type of woman who makes her own rules. When her back's up against the wall, she sacrifices her family, takes the burnt offerings that remains, and runs away. In New York City, young Brooklyn charms her way into the inner circle of hustlers and stick-up kids, learning tricks along the way. She catches the eye of a major player in the drug game, Hassan, and they have a breathless love affair. Brooklyn becomes integrated into his operation, earning the trust of Hassan and his associates. When she gets the keys to the kingdom, driven by unfettered ambition and a ruthless desire to survive, Brooklyn snatches the plot of gold, leaving bitter retribution promises behind her. From DC to Maryland, Brooklyn burns bridges and breaks hearts. What she doesn't realize is that someone is prepared to end her reign of terror. As she faces her killer and her fate, Brooklyn stunned, the justice comes from the least likely place. This one sounds so good because I love an unlikable character. I love a character that just wants to do what they want to do, and this seems like that is going to be that book. Next up, we're moving on to March, and on March 5th, we have We Ate the Dark by Mallory Pearson coming out. This one is a debut book. It has amazing, amazing reviews so far. It says that it is about 4 women investigating the haunting murder of their friend, discovering more than they've ever imagined in a terrifying novel about good and evil, love and death, and the spaces between. 5 years after Sophia Lawn disappeared, her remains are found stuffed into the hollow of a tree bursting through the floorboards of an abandoned house in the woods. The woman who loved her flock home to the North Carolina hills to face their grief. Frankie, Sophia's twin, is in furious mourning. Poppy is heartbroken. Cass has never felt more homesick. And Myra knows something the rest of them don't. Determined to find Sophia's murderer, they share more than they need to seek justice done for their friend. Each woman is haunted, bound to the next by something both cruel and kind, and now stalked by a shadowy presence they've yet to understand, only to question and to fear. As Sophia's secrets unravel, so do those of the woods, and the women soon realize that Sophia may not be who they thought she was after all, and that whoever or whatever killed her is coming after them. Is queer, so I love that representation, and I love grief horror, so this one is definitely at the top of my list. Coming out March 5th is This Could Be Us by Kennedy Ryan. This is the second book in the Skyland series, and I'm really excited for this one, even though I have not read the first one yet, but I plan on reading that one in January and then reading this one in February. I'm not going to read what this one is about because I don't want to spoil myself at all for the first book, but they are companion romance novels, and the first one is a second chance romance about a divorced couple. Next up, we have The Mystery Writer coming out March 19th, and this one is by the author who wrote The Woman in the Library, which I've heard about but I have not read yet, and it says there's nothing easier to dismiss than a conspiracy theory until it turns out to be true. When Theodosia Benton abandoned her career path as an attorney and shows up on her brother's doorstep with 2 suitcases and an unfinished novel, she expects to face a few challenges. Will her brother support her ambition to send her back to finish her degree? What will her parents say when they learn of her decision? Does she even have what it takes to be a successful writer? What Theo never expects is to be drawn into the hidden literary world in which identity is something that can be lost and remade for the sake of an audience. When her mentor, a highly successful author, is brutally murdered, Theo wants the killer to be found and justice to be served. Then the police begin looking at her brother Gus as their prime suspect, and Theo does the unthinkable in order to protect him. But the writer has left a trail, a thread out of the labyrinth in the form of a story. Gus finds that thread and follows it, and in his attempt to save his sister, he inadvertently threatens the foundations of the labyrinth itself. To protect and carefully construct narrative, Theo Benton and everyone looking for her will have to die. This one sounds so good. It's a literary thriller, which I love, and I haven't read a ton of them, but I really want to read more, so this one is one that I'm definitely anticipating. Coming out March 26th is Diavola, and this author has written a book called Loot that I've heard of, but this one says Anna has only 2 rules for the annual Pace family's destination vacations: tread lightly and survive. It isn't easy when she's the only one in the family who doesn't seem to quite fit in. Her twin brother Benny goes with the flow so much he's practically dissolved, and her older sister Nicole is so used to everyone, including her manly, docile husband and 2 kids, falling in line that Anna often ends up in trouble for simply asking a question. Mom seizes every opportunity to question her life choices, and Dad, when not reminding her everyone who has paid for this vacation just wants some peace and quiet. The gorgeous remote villa in tiny Monte Perso seems like a perfect place to endure so much family togetherness, including Benny's demanding new boyfriend. It's Christopher, not Chris. That is until things start to go off the rails. The strange noises at night, the unsettling warning from the local villagers, and oh, the dark violent past the villa itself. Beautifully unhinged and deeply satisfying, Diavola is a sharp twist on the classic haunted house story, exploring loneliness, belonging, and the seemingly inescapable bonds of family mythology. Now, I don't like haunted house stories, but I love the cover and I love the themes that it says that it's going to be exploring. And it says, warning, may invoke feelings of irritation, dread, and despair that comes with large family gatherings. So I think this one is going to have some humor to it as well, which I'm really excited about. Next up, we have a young adult coming out on March 26th as well, and that is Icarus by Kate Ingram. I haven't read a ton of Kate Ingram, or I haven't read any at all actually, but I really want to read their work, and I'm just going to read the bolded part of this one. It says, this suspenseful queer YA romance from a critically acclaimed author, Kate Ingram, reimagines the tale of Icarus as a star-crossed love story between a young art thief and the son of the man he's been stealing from. This sounds really good, and I really like the story of Icarus. I think it's like one of my favorite mythological stories, so I'm really excited to pick this one up. Also coming out March 26th, we have the bookshop Sisterhood by Michelle Lindo Rice. It says it's a compelling story about 4 close friends working together towards the grand opening of their black-owned bookstore. When each has their world upended, they must band together or risk losing the business and their friendship. When life rewrites the story, only friendship will see them through. After years of hard work, 4 best friends, Celeste, Yasmin, Tony, and Leslie, are finally on the verge of opening the bookstore of their dreams, a place where their community can find solace with an intriguing new read, a comforting beverage, and book-loving friends. But before they can cut the ribbon, their worlds are upended. Tony receives devastating news just months before her wedding, while Celeste's struggling marriage threatens to collapse completely. Leslie learns a shocking secret about her family, and a lotto ticket changes Yasmin's life, but not for the better. As the bookstore grand opening fast approaches, the 4 women must lean on each other now more than ever to navigate their grief and uncertainty, and together they'll learn that sometimes even life's most unexpected plot twists can lead to beautiful new beginnings. This one kind of reminds me of the Wash Day Diaries just a little bit, which I love that graphic novel, and this one sounds so good. Like, it's about people opening a black-owned bookstore. It just sounds phenomenal. Next up, coming out on March 26th, is also How to Solve Your Own Murder by Kirsten Perrin. This one, I think, is this author's debut work, at least in America, because all their other work has been written in a different language. So either this one's translated or their first work in English. And it says, for fans of Knives Out and the Thursday Murder Club, which I haven't seen Knives Out, but I enjoyed the Thursday Murder Club immensely. And it says, an enormously funny mystery about a woman who spends her entire life trying to prevent her foretold murder, only to be proven right 60 years later when she's found dead in her sprawling country estate. Now it's up to her great niece to catch the killer. It's 1965 and teenage Frances Adams is at an English country fair with her 2 best friends, but Frances's night takes a hairpin turn when a fortune teller makes a bone-chilling prediction. One day Frances will be murdered. Frances spends a lifetime trying to solve a crime that hasn't happened yet, compiling dirt on every person who crosses her path in an effort to prevent her own demise. For decades, no one takes Frances seriously until nearly 60 years later when Frances is found murdered, like she has always said she would be. In the present day, Annie Adams has been summoned to to a meeting at the sprawling country estate as her wealthy and reclusive great aunt Frances. But by the time Annie arrives to the quaint English village of Castle Knoll, Frances is already dead. Annie is determined to catch the killer, but thanks to Frances's lifelong habit of digging up secrets and lies, it seems that every endearing and eccentric villager might just have a motive for her murder. Can Annie safely unravel the dark mystery at the heart of the Castle Knoll, or will dredging up the past throw her path of the killer? She starts to feel she might inherit her aunt's fate instead of her fortune. This one sounds really good, and it's a cozy mystery, which I have been wanting to get more into cozy mysteries, so I'm excited to pick this one up. And here is the last book of the video, coming out March 28th, is How to Kill a Guy in 10 Ways by Eve Kelman. I believe this one is also a debut as well. It says, are you on a date that doesn't feel right? Can't shake that creepy guy at the bar? Worried you're being followed home? Message M. After one too many terrifying encounters, Millie Masters sets up a hotline for women who feel unsafe walking home alone at night. Message M. But very quickly she realizes that there's much more to be done to help the women who call in, because the men just do it again the next night and the next and the next. And when our own sister is assaulted on a night out, the temptation to take the law into her own hands becomes too much to resist, because M can also stand for murder. A deliciously dark, hilarious, twisted serial killer thriller with a villainous female lead readers can't help but root for. This one sounds phenomenal, and it's literally a serial killer thriller with a villainous female lead. Like, that's all you have to say for me to be intrigued, and it's supposed to be funny, which I really want to read more like funny thrillers. So this one I think is going to be one that I immensely enjoy. So that's all that I have for this video today. I hope that you guys enjoyed. If you have any more anticipated releases, let me know down below, because I would love to add them to my list. And if you made it to the end, leave the book stack emoji because of all the books that we're going to be buying in 2024. And I will see you on my next one. Bye, everybody.